Story 1. Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis. If falling in love is inevitable, at least let it have a killer soundtrack. Story 2. Your Song by Elton John. Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. For No One by the Beatles. You Are the Sunshine of My Life by Stevie Wonder. Story 3. Sea of Love. It has been covered by many artists, but my favorite version is by Cat Power or perhaps the Honey Drippers. Story 4. Lover, You Should Have Come Over by Jeff Buckley. The lyric "My Kingdom for a Kiss Upon Her Shoulder" will always be one of the most romantic things I have ever heard. Story 5. True Love Waits Radiohead, a moon-shaped pool version. It's just so heartbreaking, particularly given the context of the end of Tom's 2-decade-long partnership with Rachel Owen, who died shortly afterward from cancer. Story 6. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd was penned after Syd Barrett was institutionalized, and he wrote a note to the band that basically contained the words of the song. Story 7. Someone else mentioned this, but God Only Knows by the Beach Boys is the most perfect song ever recorded, in my opinion. Story 8. Songbird by Christine McVie of Fleetwood Mac sends a shiver down my spine every time I hear it, because it is so beautiful. Story 9. Old school answer, but some of the music Puccini wrote in his operas is incredibly romantic. Tosca, Madame Butterfly, and Turandot. I guarantee you will know some of the music even if you do not know the name. Story 10. Every Time We Touch by Cascada. Edit. I had to remove something that the snow wrote when I posted. I dislike winter, man. Story 11. Elvis's Can't Help Falling in Love was my pick. A few personal favorites. You're Still the One by Shania Twain. Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John? What can I say? I love The Lion King. Forever and Ever, Amen by Randy Travis. Remember When by Alan Jackson. Story 12. Forever Ben Harper. I believe Stevie Wonder. Both played at my wedding 25 years ago, so it worked. Story 13. The other day, my 6-year-old daughter came back from school and told me that she had a substitute teacher for her music class. She said the substitute was much older and he made them listen to some new songs that she had never heard of. She then asked me if I knew someone called Stevie Wonder, and if I had heard of his song called I Just Called to Say I Love You. Apparently, the music teacher taught them this song, and so when she got home, she was super excited to make my wife and me listen to it. I don't know if it's because I'm now married to a beautiful wife, but listening to that song for the first time in a long time made me really appreciate the lyrics. The simplicity and honesty in the lyrics made it absolutely beautiful. Story 14. Representing the heavy metal and rock fans. Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, or My Wife and My First Dance Song. Thank you, Chris Cornell, for the cover of Led Zeppelin. Story 15. I love Kiss from a Rose by Seal, and there is nothing that will ever make me change my mind. Oh God. Story 16. Something by George Harrison, only because this one guy said it once, a man named Sinatra. It seemed he knew a few songs. Story 17. Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. The way his buttery, smooth voice conveys the feelings of the words is captivating. It is not a complex love song, but it is as direct as a love song can be, and it certainly hits the mark. Story 18. Oh, that is a tough one. There are so many beautiful love songs out there. One classic that comes to mind is Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. It is a timeless ballad that just tugs at the heartstrings. Story 19. It may not be the best answer, but my wife and I's song is Midnight Train to Georgia by Gladys Knight. We had known each other for over 12 years before starting to date long distance for over a year, and the lyrics, I would rather live in his world than live without him in mine, represent the true bond of our love and marriage. That is why it is the most beautiful love song ever, in my opinion. Story 20. Fountains of Wayne has a song called Yours and Mine that is about a minute long, featuring just 2 short verses that describe a comfortable relationship between 2 people. I love it. Story 21. Cigarettes and Coffee by Otis Redding. Story 22. More Than Words still resonates with me from the inside out. I do not know why. I could never put my finger on it. The song has no significance in my life or love life. It's just simply a fantastic track. Story 23. Nick caves into my arms, sends a shiver down my spine every time. Lyrics. I don't believe in an interventionist God. But I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you, not to touch a hair on your head, to leave you as you are. And if he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms. O Lord, into my arms. O Lord, into my arms. O Lord, into my arms. And I don't believe in the existence of angels. But looking at you, I wonder if that's true. But if I did, I would summon them together and ask them to watch over you, to each burn a candle for you, to make bright and clear your path, and to walk, like Christ, in grace and love, and guide you into my arms. Story 24. Bless the Telephone by Labi Sifri. There is something so beautiful about the mundane joy one feels when speaking to their loved one. Story 25. Never Stop by Safety Suit was the song she walked down the aisle to when we got married. And Synesthesia by Andrew McMahon was the song we walked away together after the ceremony. I see colors when I hear your voice. I love you, and I miss you. I will see you soon, babe. Story 26. Eternal Flame by the Bangles. The Power of Love by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Jesus to a Child by George Michael. Story 27. I wish every original poster of such posts included a collaborative playlist link for people to add the songs into. It is such a hassle to have to go through all the comments to create a playlist. Story 28. Weird choice, but I think it's Lola by the Kinks. It's a song about a man who goes to a club in Soho and falls completely head over heels for Lola, whom he later discovers is actually another man in drag. This is played off as just a funny story, and I think I read somewhere that it's based on a real event that happened to the band's manager. However, there's a rather beautiful lyric in there where the narrator is wrestling with his feelings for Lola. Pushed her away. I walked to the door. I fell to the floor. I got down on my knees, and I looked at her and she at me. Well, that's the way that I wanted it to stay, and I always wanted it to be that way. For my Lola. Lola Lola. Boys will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world. Except for Lola. La 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 Lola. To me, it always seemed that the narrator had never considered falling in love with another man, but the moment he did was something he wanted to last forever. This is beautiful. Story 29. This song, Guys in Love with You, in terms of melody, just feels like a perfect encapsulation of the feeling of love. I can't help but laugh at the whelp, guess I'll die element though. Story 30. Specifically, the Johnny Cash cover of Hurt changed the entire meaning of the song without changing most of the lyrics. Story 31. Love by Kendrick Lamar. As a person who hopes to be single for life, it makes me want to get married just so I can play the song at my wedding. Story 32. The Pina Colada Song. Monotony kills so many relationships, but this beautiful song shows more often than not that couples need to make a little effort to renew a relationship and keep the spark alive. I love it. Story 33. I would like to offer It Never Went Away by John Batiste. It is a song he wrote for his wife and was featured in his documentary American Symphony, which chronicles his career success and his wife's battle with cancer. Story 34. In English, maybe Your Song by Elton John. In Hindi or Urdu, I would say Chaya Chaya with music by A.R. Rahman, based on an old Sufi song, Tir Ishq Nachaya by Bulla Shah. Story 35. I normally don't listen to love songs, but one I really like is Speak Softly, Love from the Godfather movie. Story 36. Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis. If falling in love is inevitable, at least let it have a killer soundtrack. Story 37. Right Down the Line by Jerry Rafferty. I can't believe this hasn't been mentioned yet. Story 38. Mine is I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos. I love that song. The sound and the lyrics capture love for me. Story 39. All of Me by John Legend. A lot of the ones I would pick have already been mentioned, so for a more mainstream or modern choice, I would go with that one. It's not my very favorite, but it's a really good one. Story 40. I Envy the Wind by Lucinda Williams. Honorable mention for how honestly poetic it is. Not My Slave by Oingo Boingo. Story 41. The Book of Love by the Airborne Toxic Event. Not only is it a song about all things love and what it means to the listener, it is a beautiful ode to the relationship he had with his own family. Story 42. You're Still the One by Shania Twain. I think people fall in love way too easily, or they think they do. They think it's love. Then you realize this person is actually quite flawed and annoying. If you still want this person after the honeymoon is over and they still want you, then I will be impressed. Story 43. Beautiful by Gordon Lightfoot. Shadows by Gordon Lightfoot. Who Are You Now by Blue Jays, Justin Hayward. Story 44. If That Isn't Love by Weird Al. It is the most accurate representation of actual love of any love song out there. Everything else is about attraction, desire, and lust. You are so beautiful. You make a glorious sunset look like a great big mess. If that isn't love, I don't know what love is. Story 45. Sparks, a Coldplay, Let You Break My Heart Again, Laufey, and a classic Something Stupid, Frank and Nancy Sinatra. Story 46. Work Song by Hozier never fails to make me tear up. The raw power of the imagery captures a feeling within love that I think is rarely written about, in favor of the softer or more painful aspects of love. Story 47. This Will Be Our Year by the Zombies, Our Wedding Song. First Day of My Life by Bright Eyes. You Belong to Me by Jason Wade version. More Than Words by Extreme. Story 48. Not sure if it is the most beautiful, but it is the most dramatic that still makes me hold my breath. Jack White. Love is Blindness. Story 49. Something Just Like This by Coldplay. Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. These may not be the best songs about love, but whenever I hear them, I can't stop dreaming about finding love. Story 50. Crawling Back to You. Ever thought of calling when you have had a few? Because I always do. Maybe I am too busy being yours to fall for somebody new. Now I thought it through. Crawling back to you. Just kidding, to be honest, there are two in my opinion. 1. Do I Want to Know by Arctic Monkeys is the most universally relatable love song ever created. You cannot change my mind. It is so detailed and so flexible at the same time. It perfectly describes the feeling everyone has at some point in their lives, the one people usually cannot find words for. And at the same time, it fits so many situations: unrequited love, mutual love, awkward crush, just before the breakup, after the breakup, before asking for the first date, second chance years after, during the relationship but with doubts, after a fight, expecting a fight, and long-distance relationship. All of them fit. Ever Dream by Nightwish is way less universal, but it is the best description of being in love with someone but unsure of their feelings, and too shy to ask for now. It even has the classic mistakes people in love make, believing that all they need is just one time. In fact, having someone with you just one time makes you hunger for them even more later, and moving on is twice as difficult. It is also really, really poetic and beautiful, but that is just Tuomas Halapainen being Tuomas Halapainen. Story 51. This Must Be the Place, Naive Melody by the Talking Heads. It is so earnest and poignant and grounded while being poetic. Story 52. I Like Loving You by Minnie Riperton. It is a classic, kind of goofy, but really sweet and lighthearted. Like love. Also, those whistle tones are like not of this planet. Story 53. Maybe Landslide? I dunno. Lately I'm loving this one Cusco by Ali Crow Buckley, but it's pretty messed up and unhealthy. Story 54. Annie Laurie and I Dream of Jeannie. Something about those being songs of unrequited love just resonates with me. Story 55. 15 to Infinity by Fiddlehead. It does not sound like a love song, but I love the meaning and lyrics, and I think it would be amazing to have that. Story 56. Temporary Peace by Anathema. Nothing over the top, just there are so many thoughts when I try to go to sleep. But with you, I start to feel a sort of temporary peace. That's really all I want in my life. Story 57. So many, I couldn't possibly name them all. My big ones: Faithfully by Journey, I Won't Hold You Back by Toto. Sweet Life by Paul Davis. The line, she has your eyes, she has my nose, makes me think of my beautiful daughter, her mother and my wife, and what both of them mean to me. Really though, you all have mentioned some absolute favorites. Great list so far. Story 58. Ghost Town by Benson Boone. Because it is about him realizing he needs to let go. He loves this girl enough to see his mistakes and let her go. That is love. Story 59. 3 Libras, A Perfect Circle. Granted, it is a little depressing since the love is unrequited, but it is a beautiful song. Story 60. 13 Big Star. Honorable mentions. Loving You from Passion, Stephen Sondheim. Follow You All Over the World, Marty Jones. Angel Mine, Cowboy Junkies. Story 61. Like I'm Going to Lose You by Meghan Trainor. I know people think it's overrated, but I think it's so beautiful. Story 62. For a traditional pick, Love Me As Though There Were No Tomorrow by Nat King Cole. For a more unconventional choice, I Will Build You a Rome by Kane's Offering. At its core, it is a pretty standard love song, but the lyrics make it sound like the single most impressive thing ever. Story 63. Love Is Not an Obstacle by Metronomy. It might not be considered the most beautiful love song, but it is a personal favorite. Story 64. Someone to Love by East 17 really should have done a lot better than it did, but nobody in the music industry liked their manager. Story 65. Beth by Kiss. It hits the feels every single time. It doesn't help that it's in my vocal range. Honorable mentions go to Can You Light My Love by Greta Van Fleet, Love of My Life by Queen, and Separate Ways by Journey. Story 66. I Love a Sunday Kind of Love by Etta James, but my close second is Sad Machine by Porter Robinson. The second one isn't a straightforward love song, but it reminds me of how I feel in my current relationship. It's as if I have been reawakened. Story 67. I am going to discuss the album All the Road Running by Mark Knopfler and Emmylou Harris, who, although we are not dating or married, created such a beautiful sound together as if they were madly in love. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.